So you want to talk about impact? The artist we're discussing today dropped one solo album, yes, one solo album, and is considered one of the best artists of all time. We ain't gonna get too deep into it right now. This is Women's History Month, so you know we're giving you the realest. We back at it with You Dig.
It's on, you dig. Alone, I was never on my own, you dig. Had hip-hop guiding me alone, you dig. Make history, put it in a song, you dig. And it's on, you dig. It's on, you dig. Alone, I was never on my own, you dig. Had hip-hop guiding me alone, you dig. Make history, put it in a song, you dig. And it's on, you dig. It's on, you dig. You dig?
What up, world? It's your man Art, back with another episode of You Dig. This right here, episode 2, season 2, get into the Women's History Month. You know we're gonna give y'all some good stuff, man. So we'll jump right into it, giving y'all some less rap. Gotta rap about the real women in hip-hop, the women's influence in hip-hop throughout history. Then you know we get the hip-hop legacy with one of the realest women to ever do it, our queen, Lauryn Hill. Then you know we're going to get into some more with a new segment called Ladies First. It's Women's History Month, so you know we got to give y'all some real, that good women's history. So yeah, if you don't know about Women's History Month, started actually in 1987, originated actually as a week-long celebration by school kids out in Sonoma, California. Then it grew to become a month-long celebration, a big-time celebration for the women, man. International Women's Day is actually March 8th, so we celebrate it in March, man. So this is Women's History Month. You know You Dig gonna give y'all that good history. Women held it down in hip-hop so long, so you know we gotta talk about it, man. Let's get into it right now. You dig? Back at it again. As a consumer of hip-hop for over 30 years and as a creator for the past 15, it is clear to me that hip-hop has long been a male-dominated genre. I mean, considering the brilliance of women, one would think that there would be a plethora of female MC talent on Front Street, but that's just not the case. The industry is very selective of female talent, and it's like they can only have a few out at a time, and they all gotta be in the same lane, and it's been like that for decades, man. So this right here is Women's History Month, and with this segment of Let's Rap, we're going to be discussing the woman's influence on hip-hop, you dig? So according to the history books, hip-hop started in 1973. In 1976, we know the first female MC, MC Sha Rock of the Funky 4+1. Born Sharon Green, she established herself by battle rapping with cats like Grandmaster Flash. In August 1979, hip-hop made the Billboard Hot 100 for the first time when Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight reached number 36. This song was co-produced by classic soul singer Sylvia Robinson under the label she started with her husband called Sugar Hill Records. In December 1979, the first single by a female hip-hop group, The Sequence's Funk You Up, was released. This group was comprised of soul singer Angie Stone, Cheryl the Pearl, and Blondie. This was the second single released on Sugar Hill Records. Also, sometime in 1979, an 18-year-old Wendy Clark, better known as Lady B, released the first commercially successful female rap single, titled To The Beat Y'all. The single went gold, and she is credited for being the first woman on wax in hip-hop. To give you some context of her importance, she originated a yes, yes, y'all, to the beat, y'all, yes, yes, y'all, to the beat, y'all. And on the really real, the song is hot. I can't believe I never heard of Lady B. According to our research, this is possibly the first hip-hop record to come out of the Philly rap scene. Lady B began as an intern in broadcast radio and convinced them to allow her to play rap over the airwaves. She was one of the first DJs to play rap on the radio outside of New York, and she had a hip-hop show called Lady B's Street Beat that was super popular throughout the 80s. In 1980, Sugar Hill Records released hip-hop's first album, The Sugar Hill Gang. In late 1984, hip-hop's first popular female artist, Roxanne Shante, debuted with her single, Roxanne's Revenge. This was a 7-minute freestyle dissing the hip-hop group UTFO. This song's popularity, followed by the release of her team The Juice Crew's single The Bridge, performed by MC Shan, paved the way for a slew of artists from the Juice Crew. Artists such as Big Daddy Kane, Biz Markie, Cool G Rap, all must pay homage to the hand that she played in putting the crew on. In 1986, Salt-N-Pepa released their debut album, Hot, Cool, and Vicious. Led by their hit single Push It, this album sold more than 1 million copies in the US, making them the first female rap act to go platinum. Ultimately, Salt-N-Pepa helped hip-hop transition to the mainstream, Their fourth album, Very Necessary, released in 1993, sold over 7 million copies worldwide, with 5 million in the US alone. Salt-N-Pepa has sold over 15 million records worldwide, making them one of the best-selling rap acts of all time, male or female. The legendary MC Lyte released the critically acclaimed Light as a Rock in 1989, making her the first female solo hip artist to release an album. MC Lyte would also go on to become the first female hip-hop artist to be nominated for a Grammy when her 1993 single Roughneck was considered. In 1989, our top triple threat in hip-hop history, Queen Latifah, released the single Ladies First featuring Moni Love. This track was a woman's empowerment anthem that discussed sexism in the music industry. Latifah called for female unity in an industry that seemingly pitted women against each other. It is said that labels would only sign one female MC to the label at a time. It should be noted that Moni Love was one of the first hip-hop artists born and raised outside of the US to gain international acclaim. After the dominance of acts like Salt-N-Pepa, Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, Da Brat, and Yo-Yo, 1996 would prove to be a monumental year for women in hip-hop. After Lauryn Hill set the world ablaze with her performance on the Fugees' classic album The Score in February, top-notch MC Bahamadia released her debut album Collage in April. Foxy Brown released her debut album Il Nana in November. Lil' Kim also debuted in November with her album Hardcore. That's all in 1996. One of the greatest artists hip-hop has produced to date, Missy Elliott, released her debut album Super Duper Fly in 1997. She would go on to sell over 30 million records in the United States alone. She is the best-selling female rapper in Nielsen music history, according to Billboard in 2017. In 2019, she became the first female rapper inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Missy was a pioneer for female producers as well. These artists opened the game up for all types of female MCs, and for a minute, we were seeing some really dope rappers. I mean, people like Rod Digger, Mia X, Eve, and Remy Ma, like real spitters. In the forefront, it's clear that the hip-hop industry as a whole has transitioned to a profit-first, art-second mentality. I would argue that there are deeper, more clandestine activities at play, but that's for another segment on another day. As we continue our celebration of Women's History Month, our celebration of one of the best parts of life, we'll be examining one of the greatest hip-hop artists to ever do it. So as I was thinking the words to describe this person, what keeps coming to mind is incomparable. I mean, they're on another level content-wise. I mean, she was rap singing before auto-tune. I mean, she set the bar for hip-hop lyricism, and she's not even exclusively a hip-hop artist. Today, we're going to be talking about the young queen of music, the hip-hop legend, Miss Lauryn Hill. Born Lauren Noel Hill in East Orange, but raised in South Orange, New Jersey, Lauren's mother was a teacher and her father a computer consultant. Growing up, Lauren's mother played the piano and her father sang. Her older brother also played multiple instruments. As a child, Lauryn enjoyed school, sports, and other activities, but music was by far her passion. She spent hours upon hours in her room listening to records of classical soul music from the 60s and 70s. Artists such as Curtis Mayfield, Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin, and Gladys Knight all had a great influence on Lauren's musical development. Lauren also performed at every opportunity, appearing as a contestant on Showtime at the Apollo at age 13. With the support of her family, she pursued singing and acting professionally in her early teens. She joined high school teammate Pras Michel and his cousin Wyclef Jean to form the legendary hip-hop group, the Fugees. Lauren originally joined the group as a singer, but later learned to rap. She chose to develop her flow listening to artists like Ice Cube. In 1992, around the same time of her group's formation, Miss Lauryn Hill landed a recurring role on the soap opera As the World Turns. The following year, she appeared in Sister Act in the role of Rita Watson. This role not only displayed Lauren's skills as a singer, but she definitely gave a standout performance as an actor. Lauren would go on to appear in Steven Soderbergh's King of the Hill that same year. After graduating from Columbia High School, Lauren began attending Columbia University. She recalls doing her homework in the bathroom stalls of hip-hop clubs. The Fugees actually signed a record deal with Columbia Rough House after her freshman year, and she ultimately left school. The Fugees' first album, Blunted by Reality, was released in 1994. This album attracted a few positive reviews, but failed to establish the group as a major presence on the hip-hop scene. Their second album, The Score, took the Fugees, Lauryn Hill, and hip-hop as a whole to a whole nother level. The Score has ultimately become one of the best-selling albums in music history with over 22 million copies sold worldwide. In contrast to their first album, this album contained more explicit social commentary and incorporated elements of reggae and old-school R&B. The album contained 3 hit singles, the biggest being Lauryn Hill's rendition of Roberta Flack's ballad, Killing Me Softly. The other hit singles were Ready or Not and Fuji La. The Fugees won 2 Grammys in 1997, Best Rap Album and Best R&B Vocal Performance by a Duo Group for Killing Me Softly. Lauryn stood out on the whole project, but especially these singles. After differences with their group members, Lauryn and the Fugees disbanded. Already a household name on her own, Lauryn did not waste time in staking her own course. Prior to leaving the Fugees, Lauryn recorded one of the best songs in hip-hop history, If I Ruled the World with Nas. In early 1997, Lauryn Hill released a classic song, The Sweetest Thing, for the Love Jones soundtrack. Later that same year, she gave birth to her first child, a son named Zion David Marley, after meeting his father Rohan on the Fugees tour with Ziggy Marley. Lauryn and Rohan have 5 children together. Early 1998, Lauryn wrote and produced Aretha Franklin's album title track, A Rose Is Still a Rose. Then, on August 25th, 1999, Lauryn Hill's magnum opus and one of the best albums music has seen to date was released. The Miseducation was recorded entirely in Tough Gong Studios in Kingston, Jamaica. That's actually where Bob Marley recorded most of his hits. The album's title was inspired by the film and autobiographical novel The Education of Sonny Carson and Carter G. Woodson's The Miseducation of the Negro. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill sold over 422,000 copies in its first week. This broke the record for records sold by a female artist in any genre. We could honestly spend the rest of this episode examining this album and discussing its importance. This is possibly the best album of the last 25 years. I mean, people pay a lot of attention to the single songs like Do Wop That Thing, X Factor, and Everything Is Everything. But if you know this album, you know that songs like Lost Ones, To Zion, Forgive Them Father, and Nothing Even Matters featuring D'Angelo were just as impactful, if not more. The only song I skipped on this 16-track album is Every City, Every Ghetto. Though this album was far from being exclusively hip-hop, Lauryn kept great balance throughout and ultimately gifted the world with hip-hop's first in-depth discussion of love. It should be noted that this album was nominated for 10 Grammys, winning 5. Both of those are records for a female artist of any genre. Also, this album recently went diamond, meaning that it sold more than 10 million copies in the US alone. She embarked on a worldwide sold-out The Miseducation tour in 1999, then won another Grammy for Album of the Year for her contribution to Santana's Supernatural album the following year. She is the only female artist to win a Grammy for Album of the Year in 2 consecutive years. After these high-level musical successes, Lauryn abruptly left the music world. She continued to write songs, and in 2001, she recorded a live performance of her new material on MTV, accompanied only by her acoustic guitar. The performance and album were released that following year, entitled Unplugged No. 2.0. Being that the album was exclusively acoustic guitar, there wasn't any hip-hop instrumentality, but Lauryn's delivery, even when singing, is undoubtedly hip-hop. Lauryn and the Fugees came back together for a reunion tour in 2005. Though she has not released an official album since 2002, Miss Lauryn Hill continues to tour at her own pace. If you're looking for some new Lauryn though, in 2009, she released Gardner Gates as a part of that Queen and Slim soundtrack. Go check that for sure. Fire. In discussing Lauryn Hill's life and accomplishments, we must acknowledge the direct influence she has had on some of the best. I won't go in depth, but each of these artists has paid homage to Lauryn Hill in some type of way. Artists such as Nas, Kanye West, Jay-Z, Erykah Badu, Talib Kweli, Kendrick Lamar, A Boogie, and J. Cole have all paid homage in some form or way. It's a must that we discuss the most important figures in hip-hop history, and without a doubt, Lauryn Hill fits that bill. One of the most talented artists hip-hop has ever seen. We are so thankful for her presence, and even if she never drops another album, she is still one of the best artists of all time. Thank you, much love, Miss Lauryn Hill. Baby. Upon Upon reviewing season 1 of Your Dig, we concluded that we did a great job of accomplishing our goals, but like many have done before us, we failed to give the female presence in hip-hop its proper just due. So in season 2, we promised to incorporate the contributions of women and girls in hip-hop with our new segment, Ladies First. With Ladies First, we will focus on current and historical contributions of women in hip-hop that may have been overlooked or did not get the shine it deserves. As we discussed earlier in this episode with our Let's Rap segment, women were heavy contributors to the craft since its inception, even in a leadership capacity with Sylvia Robinson of Sugar Hill Records. When you think about the fact that a woman, specifically a black woman, was the head of hip-hop's top record label, but then you can't really name any producers/execs since her. Or that Lady B did so much in pioneering hip-hop as a performer and broadcaster for the culture. She pioneered Philly and we don't even know her name. Obviously, the woman's presence in hip-hop has been subverted. You Dig, the hip-hop show, is going to do our part in changing that. It must be acknowledged that the woman's presence from an industry standpoint has somewhat evolved, taking advantage of the economic gains realized by promoting sex and sexuality through hip-hop. Recent Grammy acknowledgement of rappers Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion illustrate how women have been incorporated into this modern era of the hip-hop industry. But the issues are much deeper than what we see on the surface. So I already mentioned that we barely know any current or former execs outside of Sylvia Robinson. And on the production, audio engineering side of things, female representation is just as bad, if not worse. In 2014, the Fader wrote that less than 5% of music producers and engineers are women. USC did a similar study recently, and out of 651 people sampled from the producer and engineering community, 98% were men and 2% were women. In a study of popular songs from 2012 to 2018, researchers from USC found that women make up 22% of artists, 12% of songwriters, and only 2% of producers. Out of 871 producers studied, only 4 were women of color. Now granted, these percentages are from music in general, but our research leads us to believe that it could be even worse in hip-hop. Things are being done to combat this. R&B producer Track Girl created the 7% series. The mission behind the 7% series is to help create a platform for women to come together and be more united. Producers like Wonder Girl and Crystal Gaines have made major strides in the past 5-10 years. Wonder Girl produced multiple songs on Pop Smoke's last 2 projects, also joints on Kid Cudi's last album. My favorite work from her came in 2013 with SZA's Teen Spirit and Jay-Z's Crown from the Magna Carta album. Crystal Gaines is one of A$AP Ferg's primary producers. She's also produced for Smoke DZA and MIA. Salute to these incredible producers, the ones from the past and the ladies soon to come. Like I said, Your Dig is going to do its part in making sure women get the light they deserve. Happy Women's History Month, and shouts out to all the ladies of hip-hop. Word up. So that's a wrap on another episode of Your Dig. This right here was the Women's History episode, man. So much good information discussed today. You know, we opened up with that Let's Rap, talking about the women's influence on hip-hop, got into the hip-hop legacy of Lauryn Hill, the incomparable Miss Lauryn Hill. Then, you know, we jumped into our first segment of Ladies First. The first of many, won't be the last, but this is Women's History Month, so you know we had to jump it off, right? Now we're going to get into You Gotta Hear This. This is our music recommendation section. You know, we're going to give y'all some good music to go check out. I'm going to tell you to go listen to Lauryn Hill's Lost Ones. That's track 2 off the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill album. I've heard some talk. They say Lauryn Hill won't all the way hip hop, or the Miseducation album won't all the way hip hop. Man, if you don't know hip hop, you don't know Lauryn Hill. As simple as that. Because track 2, Lost Ones, is straight up hip hop, man. I mean, the album is hip hop in itself, but that song right there lays it all out for you, B. Lauryn Hill is the hip hop queen. So yeah, make sure you get into that Lost Ones track off Miseducation album. Also, make sure you go and check out all the merch. You know what we got going on, thatrnd.com. And make sure you subscribe, man. If you're watching this and you ain't subscribed, what you doing? You know we gonna bring you that good content all the time, man. So yeah, make sure you go check out the Lost Ones track from Lauryn Hill. Go see all of our episodes from the past. If you want to see season 1, season 2, everything is coming, you know. That R&D. But yeah, stay tuned with us, man. You dig?
You dig?